All right. Are we live?
It says on my end it's streaming live.
Streaming live? I just can't see, I guess. All right. So I think we're live. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Sam. We have Dan from SBA. We have Carolyn from Downtown Cultural District, and we have Tia, who is going to be moderating the questions coming through on Facebook. We are going to pull up the screen so that Dan can start. And thank you again for joining us. We're going to hold off on the questions until after Dan goes through these slides. I also just want to express a thank you from the co-hosts, Greater Lynn Chamber, Lynn Main Streets, Lynn EDIC, and North Shore Latino Business Association. So thank you for everybody for joining, and we will be going ahead. All right, thanks, Dan.
Awesome. So thank you everybody for taking some time out of your day. You know, I know it's a stressful situation for everybody that we're in, but, you know, luckily, you know, I think we have a lot of good community leaders here that are, you know, trying to get out this information to everybody and you know, try to help everybody as much as possible, because, you know, that's what we need to do, you know, in these times is help each other. So if we want to, do I actually have access to change the slides on my end?
No, I do.
Oh, so if we, what we're going to talk about today, and I know there's a lot of questions regarding the stimulus package that was just signed. Right now, the team at the SBA, they're working real hard to try to decipher all the details and how everything's going to work. And we have to roll that out to all of our lending partners, our community leaders, and there is, you know, what looks like it, you know, as I know we can see all on whether it's Fox News, CNN, there's a lot of new information coming, a lot of new programs coming, and how does that all work and help the small businesses. So right now we have a couple things out, which is the economic injury disaster loans and the SBA Express bridge loan. So those are the things I'll talk to you guys about today, because that other information, I just have very small details on them, just bullet point stuff that really everybody is seeing on your local news station. So it's nothing concrete, but we will definitely be getting that out within the week. So as you can see here on the first slide, this was just a declaration for the actual disaster itself. So with this pandemic, you know, basically it was up to the governors of the different states to declare their state and economic disaster. So Massachusetts did that on March 18th. So with Governor Baker's full request being submitted. So basically what that means is, does not matter where your business is located in the state of Massachusetts, you can go ahead and apply for the economic injury disaster loans. So as far as the SBA goes, so if whoever is on here that doesn't know the Small Business Administration, so our job as a federal agency is basically to help small businesses, you know, grow in a variety of different ways. Most popular, and what people probably know the best, is through access to capital. So we work with a variety of different lending partners, whether they're micro lenders, traditional banks, credit unions, to provide different loan programs that can help small businesses, both you know, just starting up or have been in business for years, gain access to capital. We also do contracting, and we work with the different federal government agencies to provide a variety of contracting opportunities to hopefully, you know, increase your revenue as a small business and your customer base. And then we also partner up with several different small business organizations throughout the United States that provide a variety of technical assistance, you know, for small businesses, whether that's just general counseling, helping them with put together their financial packages for lending, helping them come up with different marketing strategies. So we partner with SCORE, the Massachusetts Small Business Development Centers, and the Center for Women and Enterprise, and also the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So these are all free resources that everybody should know about, because all that money that's being funded to them is funded through taxpayer money. So you want to, you know, be aware of those organizations, and there's a lot locally. I know SCORE is right at the housed right at the Greater Lynn Chamber. We have the Northeast chapter for the SBDC right at Salem State. So we have a lot of local help, in the North Shore area. And then lastly, what we're going to be talking mostly today, obviously, is about the disaster assistance. So we're not dealing with physical damage because that would be more for, your hurricanes and things like that, tornadoes that happen in different states. So we're going to be focused on the economic injury loans because that's what this pandemic has caused everybody. So we can head to the next slide. So the basics on the actual loan itself. So there's a couple of things that differ. Typically, when you're dealing with an SBA loan, you're going directly to a bank or a micro lender or a credit union, and they're the ones that are actually providing the finance based on their lending practices, also with the guidance through our policies and procedures. So with the disaster loans, these loans are actually done directly through the SBA. The money comes from the Treasury that's given out. So these loans are all done online. You can, go to SBA.gov. There's a big link up at the top talking about coronavirus. It will direct you right to where you need to be when you're applying for the loan. So this is not something that you have to step into a bank or a credit union to apply for. So, as far as who's eligible for these loans too, it's pretty much any small business across the board. There's a couple things that you have to factor. So we are a federal agency. So anything that might be deemed illegal on the federal side or maybe be questionable with character concerns, the SBA and the federal government is not going to qualify them as an eligible small business. So, I know here in Massachusetts, a question comes up, well, are the marijuana shops or pot shops able to apply? And unfortunately, no, because it's they're federally illegal at this point. In the state, it's different, but this is a federal program. So, as far as, other things you want to note, I got a couple bullets on here. It's businesses directly affected by the disaster, which really that's every business now. Businesses that offer services directly related. So one example, we've been using, because our office is right next door to the TD Garden. You have, all these different small businesses that get affected by the TD Garden basically being closed. So you have the guy who, sells T-shirts at the Celtics games. Now that guy is out of business, but also now his provider of those T-shirts, his manufacturer, is also lost business or maybe out of business themselves. So it goes down that chain. All of those small businesses get affected by this. So they're all they can all apply for the loan itself. So we can go to the next slide. So as far as the loan approvals go, there's a lot of questions around, well, can I get approved for a loan? How do I get approved for a loan? And those are a lot of good questions. And, these don't happen, that often. So a couple of things you want to know if you are applying for the loan is they will be looking at your credit history. So they will take that into a concern, just like any other lending institution would. So they're going to look at the credit history of the small business. Anybody that is an owner of the business that has 20% or more stake in the business, they're going to be looking at those individuals, as well. Things are changing a little bit and they're relaxing some things. So what I'm telling you today, when we're getting our finalized details on the stimulus package, some of this stuff may change. They still may look at the credit, but from what I understand too, when it comes to the actual credit history, for them to completely deny a business, the credit has to be like really low, even below like normal lending standards. Like it has to be significantly low. But what we've been telling a lot of those people that may have gotten denials already is please reach out to some of our resource partners, because take that opportunity to figure out what needs to be fixed in your credit while this is going on, because it may be some things that maybe you weren't aware of, or maybe some things that you are able to fix, currently, or maybe there's just some stuff in your credit history that you can explain. Maybe there's a payment plan for a certain instance, and the SBA will take all those things into consideration. They might just initially deny you, but you can go back and ask for reconsideration. So if you can explain some of those things, provide documentation on payment plans, definitely, take the time to do that. as far as, repayment, they still want to make sure that the loan can be repaid. And I'll go over in the next couple of slides on a couple of things when it comes to repayment, because that will go into like the terms and different things that are being offered through this program. And then eligibility. So when it comes to the eligible small business, we might run into some small businesses in the state of Massachusetts. Maybe they have an operating facility here in Massachusetts, but they're headquartered in another state. So wherever you're headquartered, that's really where you have to apply for these type of loans. So you want to make sure that your state is actually designated an economic disaster. So if you have operations in Lynn, but you're headquartered out in, let's say, Idaho, I don't know why Idaho comes to mind, but it just does, and that state hasn't declared, you have to wait for them to declare to actually apply for this loan. So it's all based on where you're headquartered. Most people won't really run into that concern, but it's, something to note. So we can go to the next slide. So as far as the terms on these disaster loans, so right now the terms, so you can qualify up to $2 million. With that said, not everybody's going to get $2 million just because, they apply or they ask for it. One of the things you'll actually notice during the application process, they don't actually have a section where you can request an amount. They're going to look over your financial data, some information that you're going to provide them, as far as of different payments that you need, loans outstanding. They're going to look at, some business history on you. The analyst that gets assigned will actually make that determination on what funds you'll be getting. One couple new pieces of information we've gotten is most small businesses that apply it looks like they'll be getting a $10,000 amount of funds initially that's supposed to be coming within a few business days of actually applying. So we're still working out the fine details on that, so we don't have the official, like, how is that going to work. What we do know is if you apply today, within like 3 to 4 business days, they're going to be automatically sending everybody $10,000 just up front to get people going while they make the decision, because it will take a few weeks for them to make the final decisions on how much funds are going to be given to each individual business. As far as interest rates go, interest rates for small businesses will be at 3.75%. If you're a private nonprofit, so that's kind of one thing that's new to the SBA, is typically we don't provide capital to private nonprofits. In this situation, it's different. So a private nonprofit, 2.75 will be the interest rate for them. Terms are going to go up to 30 years. From my understanding, they're pretty much going to set up everybody at a 30-year mark. So they really want to try to lower the payments as much as possible. What's good about these loans too is there's no prepayment penalties. So let's say, best case scenario, in a few months from now, the pandemic is over and everybody starts, getting, running their business back up to normal, growing and things like that. Say a couple years down the road, you want to pay off that loan. You can pay off the loan and there won't be any prepayment penalties. These loans are going to be used, for working capital only. So that's not meant for improving your business, lease expansions on your business, anything like that. This is, to primarily be used to pay fixed debts, pay payroll. If you're an owner and you compensate yourself through payroll, that's eligible. Different accounts payable. Maybe you have an SBA loan already outstanding or other conventional loans outstanding. Those can all, the funds for this can pay down all of those debts. So, the one thing we've noted is when you're getting this loan, it's to help your business continue operation as if the pandemic did not happen. So those are, some definitely, highlights. One good thing too is if you get approved for these loans, and we're actually already seeing the first set of approvals coming in right now. We've been getting a list on a daily basis of loans that have been approved here in the state of Massachusetts. So it's only been about a week, less than 2 weeks, and with the last 3 days, we've had a lot of approvals come in. With that said, these loans are actually going to be on a 12-month deferment. So what that means is basically during the first year of the loan, the SBA is not going to look for you to make any payments. You're not going to be required to make any payments during the first year. However, when you get the funds dispersed, so whatever that amount may be, the interest on those loan funds will be loan funds will accrue interest during that 12-month deferral. So what they'll do is basically, if you're on a 30-year term, first year you don't have to make payments, but interest accrued during that time, they'll spread that interest that accrued during the first year over those next 29 years worth of payments. But it's one good thing to know, at least you won't have to make payments for the time being or right away. So a couple of different requirements that are coming up. And what I'm telling you today too may be relaxed to a certain degree. So, just bear with me. You'll probably get some additional information on this next week. But as far as the loans go, there may be some collateral requirements. So when it comes to loans 25,000 or under, there's no collateral requirements. That means the SBA is not going to look to attach a lien to a home or commercial property. They won't look to, at other assets that they can attach liens to. But when it's over 25,000, the SBA will look to secure the loan as much as possible. With that said, though, we're not going to deny a loan due to a lack of collateral. And that is actually a standard SBA practice. Typically when lenders are providing an SBA loan product, we do the same thing. They have to look to see if there's enough collateral to fully collateralize the loan. But if there is not, they are not to deny the loan based on lack of collateral. And typically that's why they use SBA programs. That's one of the main reasons, is because there is a lack of collateral and their own lending standards require their loans to be fully collateralized. So and I wouldn't worry too much if you don't have enough collateral. That's, not going to be factored in on the denial. So as far as what kind of small businesses can apply, and I kind of touched upon it, but here's just some examples. This doesn't list everybody, but hotels, recreational facilities, charter boats, manufacturers, sporting vendors. One good thing to note that's not typical of SBA loan programs, of owners of rental property. So this means both commercial property and personal property. So if you're in business and you own, say, two families or three families in Lynn, and you're losing rent due to the pandemic, you can actually qualify for these the disaster loans. So you're eligible to apply. So restaurants, retailers, anything you see Main Street in any downtown, they're going to be able to qualify for a small business loan as far as being eligible to apply. And then that's just, again, more or less the criteria being involved. Your physical presence has to be here in Massachusetts if you're applying under the Massachusetts declaration. So we can go to the next slide. So, how do these differ? A couple of things I discussed. You're not going directly to a bank for this loan. So you're going directly through the SBA. Just go to the disaster webpage that's listed here, and it will bring you right to the online link that you need to apply for the loan. You're not going to have to click through a bunch of different things on our website. Even if you just go to SBA.gov, you'll see it up on. There'll be a big yellow bar at the very top of the screen. Just click that link and it'll bring you directly into the application page. One thing to note, there's no cost to apply. If you are offered an amount, you don't have an obligation to sign the note or take the offer. If you're looking at other financing avenues, or you want to wait on financing avenues, you can actually hold on to that offer for upwards of 6 months. So those are some good things that you just want to take note of. Also, too, if you get denied, you have, I think it's a 6-month period from the date of denial to actually file for reconsideration. So you can submit a written request to ask the SBA to reconsider the loan denial. So you'll just have to provide, some different financial documentation or supporting documentation that your business has been affected by that disaster. So those are just some things to note. And as far as basic filing requirements, this is one thing that's changing by the day. You know, what I tell you today or what I would have told you last week is a lot different, you know, than what might be at the end of this week. So one thing to just keep in mind, don't worry about needing to do all of this today. Just gather some of these pieces of information because they're going to be looking at everybody's everybody's request on a case-by-case basis, and they may require additional documentation on an as-needed basis. So you'll be assigned a credit analyst, a case manager who will go over the loan. If they feel that they're going to need additional information, just be prepared to provide that. So it might be a profit and loss, an updated balance sheet, schedule of liabilities, all the personal financial statement, all of those things will come into play. Right now, today, when they're doing the application, they're focused on just a couple things initially. The application itself, which for most people is an SBA Form 5. If you're a sole proprietor, it's an SBA Form 5C. So that's the only business entity that fills out a different form. When you're actually going through the application process, you're telling the system what type of business you are, and it will direct you to the correct form. If you're doing the paper forms, just remember to click on Form 5. Unless you're a sole proprietorship, you know, download the PDF for Form 5C because you have the option to mail it in to the disaster center, which is down in Fort Worth, Texas. You might need to sign a IRS Form 4506T, which is just a request for the SBA to look at your taxes from the IRS. That's a standard form. If you've ever are familiar with financing at any other institution, more than likely you've probably filled that out in the past. Copies of your most recent federal income tax returns. You know, one thing to note with that is any small business of any stage is able to apply for these loans. So if you're a new business under 12 months and you haven't filed taxes before, don't be discouraged from applying. You know, I've heard just we've been talking to a lot of lending relation specialists at other states and seeing what, you know, trying to get answers on what they're seeing. And I've heard that there have been businesses that have applied and have already gotten approved and they've been in business less than 12 months. So there were some additional details that they were asked, or some financial docs. One thing I know is they were asked to provide an updated business plan with 12 months of projections on revenues and expenses. So that if you're a business that's only been in business a few years, be prepared to maybe provide something like that. And that's another reason, get with your local resource partners. If you have an accountant, if you already have an advisor, you know, anybody that can help you with that, make sure you connect with them because, you know, be prepared to be asked those questions. So we can go to the next slide. And then, yeah, the next slide I think was just, you know, some more documentation here. So, you know, anybody can have that copy. I know I sent it to you, Sam. So, you know, anybody that wants a copy of that is more than welcome. These aren't, you know, something that we're looking to hide.
We'll be sharing this.
All right, cool. Yeah, and then this was, again, just talking about the newly established businesses. This is not going to be required for everybody, but again, it might be something that you're asked for, so just be prepared. As far as ineligible businesses, so, you know, these are just a couple of examples up here. So like gambling concerns. So, you know, I don't think Encore Casino is going to be able to you know, apply for this disaster loan. So unfortunately, you know, we're not going to be able to help them out. Hopefully, you know, by us all going there after this is all said and done, we'll keep them in business though. But religious organizations, charitable organizations, anything in prudent sexual nature, that the SBA and the government is not going to deem them as eligible based entities. And again, how to apply. So you can actually go directly to that link and it should bring you there, or just go to SBA.gov and there's a yellow bar at the top, it will bring you there. You can download the paper applications if you choose to, and send it to the U.S. Small Business Administration, which we have our processing center right there down at Fort Worth, Texas. So, you know, just one thing to know, because we've been getting the question asked a lot lately is, we get emailed about the loan status and, can we get our loan approved? And the Massachusetts district office doesn't have any authority on the loan approval. We're not credit analysts or case managers. We don't have access to the files. So we can't check on the status for you. So if you need to check on the status for the time being, you can either call the 1-800 number that's on there, or the email. They have a disaster email, and you can check on the status. As far as time frame, what I'm hearing right now is about a 4-week time frame for the full amount. That $10,000 is a little bit different. I think they just posted that on our website too. Over the weekend about the $10,000. So I think it's going to be within 3 to 4 business days of applying that they'll send $10,000. Everything looks like it's going to be electronically, as long as they can collect a bank account information. They'll send it directly to the account. So, you definitely, want to make sure you save those numbers. One thing too is we've been getting a lot of calls because the disaster line is, it's almost like the IRS line during tax season. There's a long wait, on there. We have, businesses from 50 states calling in. Typically, the disaster center is dealing with maybe 1 or 2 states because there was a hurricane down in Florida or a flood down in New Orleans or something, and not, that's not impacting everybody in the United States. This is impacting all of us. So they're being flooded with phone calls right now. So, one thing to note, there also on that call center, there's a Spanish option. I've heard that wait is not very long. So anybody that's a Latino-based business, I highly suggest clicking on the Spanish option, because you might actually get someone at a quicker pace otherwise. So that's just one thing to note. And again, just make sure you're utilizing the SBA resource partners to help you put together this financial information. So like, for instance, I know SCORE, we've been talking with SCORE and the small business development centers a lot. They're actually trying to help small businesses with the application process itself. So, I know I talked with Nancy Garardi, who's the director for the Northeast Chapter, SBDC. Her team is setting up virtual appointments to, at an hour apiece, where they're actually sitting down and talking with the small business, helping them put together whatever financial information that they need, and answering questions on the application itself. So definitely reach out to your community leaders, your advisors, because they can help you with this process, as well. And, certainly reach out to me and my team. We've seen a lot of troubleshooting issues over the last week or so. So we might have some answers that of things that just come up that might just be little glitches on things here and there. And then I just provided some slides as far as the different resource partners and their contact information. So, with SCORE, there's that Northeast chapter. We have a SCORE office right at the where the Greater Lynn Chamber is. So, take advantage of that. Salem State, the Enterprise Center houses the Northeast Region's SBDC. So, we're lucky being in the Northeast and being on the North Shore. Most of our resource partners are, housed right in our area. Again, for the
we'll put all this information online so people can just link or get those phone numbers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then just, as far as submitting your application, just make sure, you fill it in to the best of your ability. Try not to, miss out any information. Just go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Have someone recheck it for you, just because you don't want to miss any important piece of information, or don't feel like, if you want to send more information, you can. Like, I know a lot of people, are saying, well, should I fill in all of this information? Should I give them more? And it's the more the better, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you're trying to make the best case for your small business to get the amount of funds that you truly need. One thing to note too is, let's say you got an approval today and they gave you funds and you think it's actually too much. You can actually ask them to lower that. The SBA's case managers will certainly lower that for you. Also on the other end, this is not a one-time loan decision. What I mean by that is if they approved you for $100,000 today, and say 6 months, 7 months from now, you need additional funding, the pandemic's getting worse, you can submit in for requests for additional funds. So this isn't a one-time, here you go, the money, when don't ask us again type of situation. You can actually, submit in for multiple requests under this program. Yeah, and that's just a screenshot of, what the application online looks like. It actually, as of this morning, it looks totally different, but again, just go to the link. It will bring you, it's all the same information, just different format.
Okay.
And one thing too, we want to, I just want to note, because we've been seeing it a lot, is when it comes to the disaster itself, there's a lot of fraud going out there. So make sure, if you're hearing everything, whether it's assistance from organizations you haven't heard of, or someone charging you for assistance, the SBA, all this information can be found directly on our website. You don't need to go to secondary websites or pay someone online to do this for you. This can all be done with the help of your local resource partners, your local community leaders, and it's all the information is going to be disseminated directly on SBA.gov. So, just be careful of that, because we are hearing that there are some, online lenders now saying that they're approved SBA lenders and they're not, and they're offering these programs that have no affiliation to our program. So just be careful when you're looking at that. If you think it's a program that's too good to be true, it probably is. If you're seeing something that might not be a legitimate site, please let myself know or someone on my team know. Shoot it over to us, because we want to collect that information and send it up the chain to make sure we can put out notifications to not go to specific sites. So just be mindful of that, because in situations that are drastic like this, there are people out there that take advantage of the community. So just be aware of that.
Dan, do you want to go over these slides? I don't know how.
Yeah, for this, it's actually totally different now. So yeah, we won't need to go over those slides.
Okay.
It's going to ask for pretty much the same exact information. It's just the configuration is completely different as of this morning.
Do we want to go to our questions and get some answers? Is that
Yeah, sure.
Or do you have anything additional that you feel like you want to touch on before we get up to that point?
No, well, you know what, too? Let me bring up the bridge loan. Yeah, now that you just mentioned that. So the other lending option that's definite, already put in place as of March 25th. We already have a procedure manual out there. We've already sent it out to the banks and our other lending partners, is the SBA Express Bridge Loan. So the SBA Express Bridge Loan is a small loan of no more than $25,000. There's no collateral requirements. So the SBA has an express program normally. So this just kind of falls under that program. What happens with this program is this is a loan that's directly from one of our lending partners. So whether it's a bank or a credit union, you would actually have to step in to one of those institutions to get this loan. One thing you want to note, though, is they have to be an SBA Express lender. So they have to have that agreement already in place with us. So you'd have to check with your local bank to find out if they have that in place. Sometimes the branch personnel might not know that. So I would highly recommend requesting to speak to someone on the commercial lending team, because they're probably have more information on that, and they deal with that every day, as opposed to maybe someone at the branch level. Another thing you want to note, these loans can only be given out for borrowers who have a relationship with that bank already. So what that means is, if you're a small business and your business's account, or maybe you have a business loan with, say, Century Bank, you can only go to Century Bank to get that loan, and Century Bank can only provide that loan to you. if they choose to. So they cannot, it cannot be for new business customers. The whole point of that is because the situation is so drastic with this pandemic, the SBA wants to make sure that they're giving out loans to businesses that they already have a good understanding of their business and have that relationship with them already. It would cause too much confusion to be providing finances to businesses that they don't have a true grasp on how they've been affected by the pandemic. So it's only for current relationships only. So that's why it's important really to find out and make sure your bank has express authority, because if they don't, that's a specific agreement that they have to have with the SBA. If they don't, you may not be able to get it from your lender. Another thing to note too, when it comes to the express loans, these loans are based on the prudent lending practices of the individual lender. So the SBA cannot force them to give you the loan. They're going to underwrite the loan based on their own prudent lending practices. So it's going to be ultimately their decision on whether they want to provide you the funds. One thing, a couple other things to note on that: the terms on the loan can't go higher than 7 years. There will be some fees associated to that, so it will fall under our guarantee fee program. The highest fee that you would see for the guarantee, so we do a 50% guarantee, which basically means that the SBA is going to guarantee half that loan in case it goes into default, for the bank. So we guarantee that on the bank or the lending partner's behalf. The fee rate on that is 2%. So for example, if you have a $25,000 loan, we would cut that in half, so $12,500. Our fee rate is 2%. So you do 12,500 times 2%. So it'll be roughly a $250 fee. So that's something that they would charge you as the borrower. Another thing that you might look at that they may charge, and this is case by case because it's the bank's decision, is an application fee, and the max that they can charge you is another $250. Not every bank may charge that. That's something that you'd have to have a discussion with your bank. So we leave that up to the individual banks. These loans can only be used for the same purposes that the economic injury disaster loans can be used for. There's no line of credit. It's just a term loan. The rates are pretty much going to be the same standard we would use for our own SBA Express program. So we base everything predominantly off of the prime rate, and then we give a ceiling. So I think it's prime plus 6.25, but that doesn't mean that that's what every bank is going to go to. They have the discretion on how they want to dictate that rate. The rate can be fixed or it can be variable. Again, that's going to be left up to the individual banks to make that decision on what they want to do. So you'd have to talk with your commercial lender at your business banking institution that you're currently a customer of and discuss those options. Yeah, so we can go into questions right now.
Would you mind giving that little fun fact that you told us the other day about the Google Chrome?
Oh, yes. So for some reason, Chrome is not really compatible with our online application system. So if you are on Chrome, try to get on another internet browser, whether it's Edge or some version of Microsoft Internet Explorer, whatever the case may be, and just refrain from using Chrome. I haven't heard any issues with like Firefox or Safari either, but Chrome, for some reason, when it comes to uploading documents, it's giving everybody issues. So I would just try your best to get on another internet browser, because that's the only one that we've heard that's had issues.
Okay, cool. I don't know why I can't get up to the top, but Tia, are you on? All right, well, we'll just go with the question that I can see. What specific information do we need to gather in order to complete the application? Specific financials, expenses, etc.
Yeah, so right now you're only going to need to fill out like the basic, information, which is on the Form 5 or 5C, based on, you know, what business type you are. But I don't know if anybody's getting that background
What
noise.
background noise is coming from?
But with that said, on the previous slides, you may not need to provide too much upfront, because initially what they did, they wanted to see like 3 years of taxes. They wanted a schedule of liabilities. They, you know, and a couple other pieces of information. They've cut that back because the system was just being overwhelmed with financial documentation. It was crashing the system over and over. So really it's the online application, and then there's a statement which falls under the P-019, which is basically just a statement relating how your business has been impacted, and you provide just a little bit of financial data in there, not too much. Once it gets assigned to an analyst or a case manager, they're going to look at each loan case by case and request additional documents as needed. So those slides that I provided as far as documentation goes, just make sure you have those in line. So whether it's schedule of liability, whether it's a profit and loss, whether you're a new business and you have a business plan, take the time now to gather those. You might not need them, but have them on hand so that you can supply them as fast as possible. Also, too, if you're going to be looking at all these other financial opportunities that are coming, looks like, you know, that's in the works, and, you know, whether it's through banks and other institutions or organizations, they're probably going to need a lot of those same documents. So gather all that stuff now, because whether you're doing this loan or you're doing a loan through a bank, they're going to need all of that information to some degree. So just have it all ready and prepared, and when the time comes, they'll ask you if they need it.
All right. So this one, how long is the process from application to getting funds? My client is worried about applying for a loan if he can't guarantee that his business will reopen after 1 month. He is planning to close this week. Can a new business this is multiple questions, I guess. Can a new business less than 6 months in existence qualify for these emergency loans?
Yeah, and I think I gave an example of it earlier. So we have seen some businesses that have been in business for just a few months actually get approved already throughout the first wave of applications. So all small businesses, regardless of the stage or how many years they've been in business, can apply. You know, I don't know if everyone will get approved, but they can certainly apply, and they should apply. You know, so with that said, as far as time frame goes, it may be a little bit different for each one due to what additional information they need to provide. But right now we're hearing a 4-week time frame because of all the applications in. You know, that may change as these new alternative ways to finance small businesses, especially when we get these new programs that our lenders are going to be a part of. That may actually go down some, because now people have multiple avenues to gain access to capital too. So right now it's about 4 weeks, and a week that may change. It also looks like too, when they apply, from what we've been told, is they're going to be given $10,000 within a few business days of the application. So that's one thing that's brand new, you know, as well, that didn't apply a week ago. So, you know, those are some things to, you know, keep in mind. But like I said, on those slides for that new business, that's 6 months, I would definitely make sure that they get some updated projections together on expenses, revenues, and things like that.
Okay.
I hope I answered the entire question.
Yeah. All right. The next question I see are nonprofits don't have owners. How is credit worthiness of a nonprofit determined?
Yeah, so as far as that's what they're a little bit different. They're going to be handled differently than most small businesses would. You know, when it comes to ownership, they don't have any owners. So I know previously on our original application, when you selected you were a nonprofit, the system would actually blank out the fields for the ownership section. So they're not going to be looking at the credit to that degree. So really, for the nonprofits, they're going to be assessing the financial distress versus, you know, the credit history on that end. So they're just going to be looked at much differently than a, you know, a small business would.
Okay, perfect. Can you review the express loan discussion where you said SBA will guarantee half the loan and charge a 2% fee rate?
Yeah, so typically with the SBA, when it comes to normal access to capital, so the SBA typically does not provide direct lending unless these situations happen with a disaster. All of our lending is done through our lending partners. So that's traditional banks, credit unions, micro lenders. Typically what we do for most of our programs, so our 7A program is our most popular program throughout the United States. The 7A program has a lot of subset programs underneath. So we have 7A small, we have 7A express, normal 7A export express, so a variety of different programs. Each of those programs are guaranteed up to a certain amount based on the loan amount. So with that said, we're the SBA is providing a guarantee for that bank in case that business defaults. So that doesn't remove the obligation from the business and the owners of the business to pay down that debt. They're still on the hook, whether it's defaulted or not. But we provide a guarantee because a lot of times banks are coming and utilizing our programs because maybe the business is new and there's not enough financial, you know, data on them to support their requests. Maybe they don't have enough collateral, and the bank's normal policies dictate that their loans need to be fully collateralized, but they're good business and they want to help them. And there's a variety of other reasons. Maybe there's a credit issue that they can't get past in their own credit policies, so they can utilize some of our programs, you know, if they still want to provide that capital. So, but what happens is, you know, the government's not going to guarantee that loan, you know, free of charge, because, you know, there's always that risk of the business failing or going into default. So we charge, you know, a fee which gets passed on from the bank to the applicant or the borrower. We have different tiered rates depending on the loan size. So anything $150,000 or under is at a 2% fee rate. So that's where I got that 2% example when I gave 25. So those bridge loans, they only go up to 25,000. So you're not going to have a rate higher than 2%, and they're only guaranteed up to 50%. So only half the loan's guaranteed. So we only charge that 2% on half of the loan, not the full amount. So anytime, so if it was a $150,000 loan, we can actually go up to 85% guarantee. If it was 100, you know, we would charge 2% of 85% of that loan amount, not the full loan amount.
Oh.
So that's where I got the $250 from, because it's half of it's 2% of 12,500, which is half of 25,000. I know that's kind of a mouthful, and it's Monday, and people probably don't want to deal with math on Monday, but you know, yeah, it's a good thing we have calculators. That's all I gotta say. You know, but and then there may be an additional charge because typically we allow our lenders to charge different fees for like application and stuff. In this particular program, we're really only allowing them to charge for an application fee, and the most that they can charge is $250. But that doesn't mean every lender is going to charge that, or they're going to charge that amount. That's just as high as they can go up to if they decide. That's going to be up to them though to decide that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
The next question is, can a business get approved for this loan and for payroll relief product that's in the stimulus package?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in the stimulus package. So I know our teams up in Washington, they're right now in the process of creating procedures for all of these new programs that are coming out. So right now I only have the details on the economic injury disaster loans, as well as the express bridge loans. All these other programs and how they're going to tie into each other and the eligibility. I don't have the true final information for. We probably will be getting that at this rate. It's probably going to be middle of the week, maybe, hopefully. And then our team in Massachusetts. So our team, we're not a big team. We only have, including our attorneys, 10 people in the office. And then, so I'm a lender relations specialist. And then I have two other colleagues, Carlos Hernandez and Eli Spayu, that work on the lending team. So there's really only three of us that have to connect with all of our lenders and stuff on all of this information for the entire state. So hopefully we'll be getting a plan together later in the week when we get all the procedures, because what we're going to have to do is review all the procedural manuals for this and train all of our lenders on this as well, because a lot of the stuff is actually going to go through our lending partners. So we have to make sure that they're all comfortable with it as well, so that they know, how to actually help the small businesses with these programs and how having, the disaster loan might affect them in other programs. So we will definitely make sure, though, that we connect with the small business communities to make sure that they understand, what they're getting into, prior to applying for anything.
Well, maybe in the next couple of weeks we can do another one of these.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we're going to make ourselves available to let everybody know about it for sure.
Just this one you might have already answered it, but I want to make sure that I'm drawing attention to the question. One business can apply for SBA and banks, both?
So if they're talking about maybe the bridge loan, so with the bridge loan, that program, so if you got approved for a bridge loan today and you were applying for the economic injury loan, the injury loan probably would take much longer than the express bridge loan would take. In the procedure, basically that loan, the economic injury loan, can be utilized to pay down that bridge loan or pay off that bridge loan, depending on how much they got. So banks can actually utilize, if they know that their borrower is applying for the economic injury loan, they can utilize the funds from there to actually pay down the debt on the bridge loan. They probably should be utilizing, because the whole reason why they got that word bridge in there, it's that gap while they're waiting for the other financing to go through.
Okay.
So, but you can have both. It's just, you should, once you get the economic injury loan, you should probably be paying down that debt. And there's probably going to be some information written in within the notes and the terms and agreements on the bank's behalf to make sure that you're obligating some or all of those funds to pay down that bridge loan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
A couple more questions just to be conscious of the time, but the news is saying that operating costs and payroll costs through this time can be given as a grant with keeping people on payroll right now. How does this work, and is this related within the loan?
Yeah, so that's all part of the stimulus package that they're currently writing all the procedures on. So I'll probably have better understanding of that within like the next week. Because unfortunately, when I know the news, whatever news station you watch, and when they approve things, they approve and tell everybody the bullet points, but a lot of the finer details don't actually get worked out until it gets approved. So now that it got approved, all these details on how each program is going to work is actually being worked on as we speak. I wish they did it the other way around, but unfortunately they don't. So we'll definitely have those answers for you probably within a week or so.
Okay. Another question. My friends and I are event vendors, solid, established, but not brick and mortar. Can we be considered if we apply?
Oh yeah, you're eligible. You don't have to have an actual, it's really about identifying your business entity, whether it's sole prop, LLC, whatever the case. And you must have a defined address, to some degree, whether they're mailing in payments. So wherever you define your headquarters address, I mean, if you're a sole proprietor, your headquarters could be your home. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to have a brick and mortar.
Okay. And I think this is kind of related to a question that we touched on earlier. Maybe we can just talk about this. It says, my client is worried about applying for a loan if he can't guarantee that his business will reopen after 1 month. He is planning to close this week.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we can't guarantee, like, there's no way for us to like guarantee on that he'll get approved for a certain amount, if that's kind of what the question's asking. It would just be like as if you went into any bank traditionally, even if without the pandemic, if you wanted 200,000, well, the bank can't guarantee that they're going to give you 200,000. They got to look at your financial data, assess your situation, assess the same thing on the SBA side. You know, they have to make an assessment on everything, and look at everything case by case. So yeah, we can't like give, oh yeah, apply and you're guaranteed to get the amount you need to keep your business running. Yeah, there's really no way for anybody to get that type of a guarantee.
Okay. I feel like, let me do one more swipe of questions. I also just wanted to apologize about the some of the links weren't working, so we will try to get this up and provided to people that don't have Facebook. We will work on getting that to everybody. But like Dan said, we'll probably try to do another check-in maybe next week, Dan, if possible.
Yeah, and if the sooner I get that information, yeah, I'll work with you guys to get something on the books, you know, as quick as possible.
Okay. And it is 12:57 from my clock. So we did an hour. If there's any other questions, please let us know. Again, we will put this the slides up. Dan has provided. We will connect next week and try to schedule an updated information session on these loans. And we thank everybody again. Co-hosts, thank you. Lynn Main Streets, North Shore Latino Business Association, Lynn EDIC, and yeah, I think that's it. So thanks, Dan.
Awesome.
And thanks, Dan.
All righty. Have a good day, everybody. Hang in there.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dan.